Hello friends and welcome to We Love Code YouTube channel, and in this video we are going into backend waters. In last videos we created some simple Angular 20 application using Angular 20 and signals. Actually in previous video we have refactored our service where we had our logic and we used NGRX signals instead. And this is our front-end application. Right now it saves data into local storage. In this video we want to create simple backend API to be used for our application. And we will use something I like a lot. If you're interested in Angular or you know something about Angular and you're also interested about Node.js, I highly recommend NestJS framework. Actually, as far as I know, this framework is quite inspired from Angular because it uses decorators, and when you see there are similar concepts like interceptors and guards, pipes and so on. And it's basically a progressive Node.js framework that is built upon Express. It uses modules, controllers. In our case, we will not use more of these modules. We don't need them because we will be making really simple application. And if you're interested about learning more or for me to create more videos about this framework, anyway I will do in future, but you can write me in the comment section. But for our application we will use just controllers, services and modules. As you see here, we can begin by installing this framework globally just like we did with Angular. Let's go right into it. So to start and create our application, we need to first install NestJS CLI globally. To do that, we will just copy this command, open our command line, paste it there, press enter, and wait a bit. And after that, we will be able to create new application very similar way like we did it with Angular. So now all you need to be ready for your directory. You need to have ready your directory where you want your application to be created. So all you have to do again is to open terminal in your directory, and we will just write nest, new, and name of the application, to-dos API, let's call it this way. Press enter. We will use npm for our package manager. And now we will wait a bit until it's installed, and we will see each other in our IDE. As you can see, we have opened our newly generated NestJS application, and we can go and see what we have here, but first let's observe what is in package.json. There you have prepared scripts, and you have scripts for development mode when you are writing your code and you are changing it, and it will reload because there is this watch property. And we have for debug, if you want to see more information in terminal, if you have some problems, it's a useful script here. For production bundle we have another. For tests we use Jest, and we have prepared another scripts to use watch when we are changing our test. It again reloads them again when we do something. You can see also how much coverage we have of our code, very useful stuff. But when it comes to NestJS and framework, we have here three main important packages. We have core, which is something like heart of our application. There we have bootstrapping logic for our application, Nest factory. We have here dependency injection container. If you are familiar with dependency injection, it's basically you don't have to create instances of services you are using, which you would have to normally do. But NestJS framework, when you use it correctly, will provide you instances because it creates them, behind the curtain. There you have Platform Express, where you have implementation of HTTP server from Express and things concerning this from Express. Things like middleware, things like uploading files, and other things like that. There you have RxJS. We will not use it in this video. You know that from Angular, it's reactive programming library for reactive programming, and other NestJS packages, CLI, which is used to run different commands. We have used one to generate this application. Shortly, we will use other ones to generate controllers and services and so on. Schematics contains templates when you generate certain command. When you use, for example, to generate controller, it contains template what it's supposed to be creating. In NestJS testing, you have all the important stuff concerning testing related to this framework. Of course, then there are usual stuff like ESLint, Prettier, Jest for our testing, TypeScript, and so on. That's our package JSON file. What we have here from Nest? We have here test folder where which is prepared for our end-to-end tests. But in this video, we will not write end-to-end tests. We will write just unit tests. We have main.js, which is main file for our backend server, where you can see it's bootstrapping and uses Nest factory to create our application. It enters app module, which is our root module, and it defines, from end file, which I don't think we have here, but default port for our application, it will be running on 3000. And we can change it if we create, end file here for our different environment properties. Also, we have prepared module, controller, and service, which is always generated alongside with spec file, which is placed for unit tests. And in modules, you basically import everything here. You will import controllers here, services, and you can add in providers the services and other stuff. So what are controllers? We can go and see. Here it becomes more interesting already. Controller is basically responsible for exposing our API. As you can see, we have using this decorator here, and we have other decorators like get. You're probably familiar what it means. It basically means this method will be called when our application, because we don't have here any parameter, you can add parameter here, which will be used like in address for our backend. It can be like AI suggests, if we would run our server, we will be calling this control on address localhost 3000 port /API/v1. And when we call get method from REST, this method will be called. And that's about very simple and basic introduction into controllers. Of course, its framework we should not write. It's not recommended by NestJS, and if you want to create proper backend manageable code, you will use services where all your business logic will be. Of course, here we have just hello world, and there's nothing, but we will shortly create our own module for our new to-do API, where we will have our own controller and our own service alongside with unit tests, and we will write them too. So we can do it right now. But before we do it, let's first run our application. We can do that. We have seen our scripts. Let's run start dev for development. And we will see that we will be able to access our controller because we have here prepared boilerplate code. We will make sure everything runs correctly. It is running on 3000 port. As you can see, we have hello world here. So our application is working and we can now generate our new modules. So right now we can generate our first new module. So we can do that by writing nest G module, G for generate, and we will name it to-dos. Here it might become a bit confusing because sometimes when you have these CLIs, when you write the last parameter, it also wants the address, but here when I just write to-dos, it will automatically create to-dos folder for us. In Angular, we would have to write to-dos slash to-dos to create folder. So sometimes you need to learn how it works. So let's generate it and see we have here to-dos module. Also, if we go to app modules, the NestJS is smart. It has already imported this module into our app module. Again, this NestJS is application built on modules. So this is how it works. It will not work without our modules being, new module being implemented here, imported here. So now we can generate other stuff like controller. We will name it the same way. As you can see, it already updated our to-do module. We have here imported controller. And we will also generate our service, where our logic will be. So it works like that in NestJS framework. You should create module and the controller, which will be imported in module. In control, you will have expose your API to the world, but you shouldn't write a lot of logic here. The logic should be in service, you know. And this is basically how we will do it. So we can continue. And let's start by creating to-do interface, which will define our data model. So let's create to-do model TS, and we will just export interface to-do, and we will use exactly these properties. ID will be uniquely generated string, title will be string, completed will be boolean, and then we will have date there. We can also, well, since we are here, export type filter, because if you have seen previous videos, you remember we have used also filters there, and we need to have type for it. We will use it. We can now go back into controller and start adding some code here. So we need to import to-do service. We will use it later for our logic. Just quick word, we don't need to create instance because NestJS dependency injection container will do it for us. We just need to ask for it like that in constructor. And now we can start implementing get endpoint. So we need to use get decorate like that. As you can see, we are implementing it from common package. And now we can name our method here. We can name it get all to-dos, for example, and we'll just use this code, but we don't have anything implemented yet, so we just return empty array. But we need to think about this, what we need to do. We need to first define our DTO, data transfer object, basically object we are going to be returning to the user. We also would like to use some something like query parameter here to filter, because in future we want to be able to filter, for example, all items or only the active ones and so on. So let's first implement here query parameter like that. This is how to do it. We use a special query decorator, which will have a name of the property in query parameter, and we can name it here by property we will be using in our controller. We need to, of course, import also filter like that. Yeah, it needs to be imported as type. I think it should be done like that. Yes. And right now we need to define our DTO. So let's do it. So let's create our DTO folder here. Again, DTO means data transfer object. We want to be able to transfer data between our layers in our application, between controller service, also to return them in a response, which we'll be defining now. It will not be interface as before. We need to be able to define it as class. Why? Because interfaces do exist only in compile time, but when it is compiled in JavaScript, it doesn't exist as interface. And with class, we can use, for example, different decorators. We can do more stuff with that when it comes to validating, for example. So it is useful to do it this way. We will just create export class to do response TDO like that, DTO, and we will make it very simple. We will also have constructor here. In that we will just receive to-dos, and we will create, define our to-dos property and our total property. Yeah, this is basically what we need. This is what we are going to be returning to our users. Later we might define it more fully. So let's go back here, and our get all method will return to do response DTO. It will look like that now, and we might continue by implementing our logic into to-do service. So we are in to-do service and we want to implement our method to return all data. But first, quick word. In this video we are not going to use any databases or anything like that. It will be just simple in-memory database, let's call it like that. Basically this service will contain our data. Of course, when we restart our service we will lose our data, but it will be enough for our purposes what we want to do, which is simple backend for our to-do service right now. So let's create private property to-dos where our data will be stored like that. We will import to-do interface. Now we can create find all method, and we will start by creating property items where our to-dos property will be, and AI already knows what I want to do, so I want to filter. So I want to filter if filter will be active, we need to import it. We want to apply condition and filter this array and return only those that are not completed. that have completed false, basically. In the case when it is filter is completed, we will do vice versa. And if none of the condition is correct, is true, we will just return all data like that, and that's about it. Now we can go back to our controller and we can finish our implementation of our first endpoint. We want to call it like that, and we want to import it and add it into our instance like that. And basically this is our one endpoint, but we cannot test it right now because we need first to have create method. But we can write some unit tests for it. In our service, for example, you can write simple unit tests to test if this works. And we can do it right now. As you can see, we are in our test file for our to-do service. This is generated by NestJS. As you remember, we generated our service, so we have also boilerplate for our code for testing. And we are using some special gadgets from NestJS testing package. We talked about this package in the beginning a bit, and we need to be able, before we start testing, to create our testing module, and it uses our to-do service in providers. And we basically prepare our service, and we are able to use it right now in this section when we write our tests. But first, quick warning, what we are going to do now is not best way how to do things. We should have first created create method, so we are able to populate our to-dos private property more naturally. We shouldn't be able to access it right now because from inside our test file, because it's private property, and we could now create method will be very simple, and shortly we will do it. But I want to show you also a bit some simple hack when you can populate your to-dos private property even if when it is private and we shouldn't be able to access it. We will do it exactly this way. We will just call our service, we will say TypeScript, it is any type, and we will accept to do. Now TypeScript doesn't know it is private property and it allows us to do so. Of course, this is not how we should do things. I just wanted to show you it's possible to do it this way, and we will shortly refactor it. But now we want to write 3 simple tests for our new method, and we will test when filter is all, and when filter is completed, and when filter is active, like has this value. So we will write our 3 tests. It should return all to-dos when filter is all, and I will already know what I want to do, and I knows it too, so let's just comment on the code that has been generated now. In the first section we will just call all, and we use this special function that is provided for us from Jest. We expect the result and to have certain length. This, when we have just all, we should return all of them. They are 3, so we expect them to be 3. Now, when we have filters to set on active, we expect 2, because 2 of them are active because they have completed false. And when filter is completed, we expect 1 to be called. Now we can run our test and see what happens. Well, we see some error here. To-dos control, to-do service. Oh yeah, of course, because in to-dos control we have this to-do service as a property, as our private property, and we need to be able to implement it here too. We are now not running one test, we are running multiple tests, but I can show you at least how to do it. We will just put providers here, which are to-do with our to-do service, and make instance here. And now when we run our test, everything should be working fine, and it is. And we can move along and finally create method in our service. And we are back in our to-do service, and we want to create method, but it's better to start and create new endpoint for creating our new item in to-do list. And it will be post endpoint. We will create post endpoint. We will name method create to do like that. And as you can see, it will display a return to do to the user, to do model, and we will use body decorator because we expect our data to be inside body of HTTP, and we need to be able to create new DTO because right now actually we want to be able to apply special validator. We will have here from users, they will send us title, they can send us, for example, empty title for some reason, and we should have some validators for that. Of course, we can use it by using conditions, but in general, I prefer of using special library. It's called class validator, which will provide for us special decorators that are very useful. And we now can create DTO, create to do .dto.ts. So export class create DTO. It will have just one property, title. But now, because we have installed our super nice package, we can use these beautiful decorators. What it does is it applies behind the curtain certain logic. So if title will be, for example, empty, it will automatically return error message to the user. We can try it later. But now we have created our create to do DTO, and we can finish here basically. We will just import it. Now we need to be able to actually create it in the service, and we will do it very quickly because it's super easy. I will just change the code here a bit. I don't want to use this library. I want to be using crypto library, like that. And we need to be able to set new title. Of course, it doesn't know it because we didn't import it. But it will be like that. A basic value will be for completed false. New data. We will just push it into our array here and return it to the user. Exactly like that. So this is our data now, and we might go back to our tests, but first let's finish it here. Yes, just last thing to import it here, and we can now refactor our tests. As you can see, we are back in our test file, and we will just do very quick refactorization here. We will delete this hack, and we will make sure we will just call the methods we have created in our service for this test to work So we will create 3 new items and it will work exactly the same way. But unfortunately, the other 2 tests will not work now. So we will just comment them and run our tests. If it works, these tests will not work because they expect another method. We need to be able to change the value of completed property in our array in certain rows, So we will come back to it later. And right now we will implement new endpoint. And we are back in our controller and we have last 2 endpoint we have to do. Right now we will do put input endpoint. The difference between post and put is that post should create new data and put should basically update or change existing data. So we will be changing existing data. So we will use put decorator here, and we can use suggestion from AI and update it a bit. Yeah, we will use param here because here we have special parameter. What it means that the last thing in our address will be ID. It will be string ID, and right here we just want to be able to access it by using this decorator. It will be string, and again we will be expecting in our body to have this DTO. We will shortly define it, and later we will define new service in our to-do service. But first let's define our new update to do DTO. Let's create new file, update to do DTO TS, like that. Here we will just export like that. Yes, we want to be able to update basically just 2 things, title or completed, and both of them will be optional. This is what this means. It can be there or not be there. And we will use decorator from class validator is optional. It's self-explanatory. And we will use another tool for title. When it is already there, we want this to be string. And another will be minimum length. Like that. We need to import it, of course. And for completed, we will use 2. Is optional and is boolean. Is boolean is just checking whether it is boolean. Of course, if user sends something differently against these definitions, we will return error to him. Now in the to-do controller, we will just import this, and we need to now implement our update to do method in the to-do service. Let's do it right now. As you can see, we are back in our service and we will implement now update to do method. I will just paste the method here to be quicker this time. We will import missing objects and I will comment on the logic what we are doing here. We expect 2 parameters. ID, which identifies unique row in our to-do service, and also our new data. But also we want to be able to react if, for example, user sends non-existing ID. We want to be able to show them not found exception 404. And for that we have here a variable found, which is defined on false. Also update to do, which will contain to do our change. And we will update our to-dos property array here, and we will map through it, and we will not do any changes where the ID is not equal to our ID, obviously, but if it is, we will set found to be true, so the error will not be thrown. And we will set our update to do with our new data, whether it will be title or completed, it will be updated. We will return it, so to-dos is updated, and we will also return it at the end. We will just use this exclamation mark here, which is telling to TypeScript, because otherwise it will complain that this will be definitely set. This update to do will be set. We will not return undefined here. And now we can basically go and again update our unit test. So let's do it. And right now we can turn on our two tests again. We are able to finish them. We will first again create our data like that, but we are now filtering those active. Those active are those that completed is false, when completed is false. So how to do it? We want to be able to have two active ones, so we need to complete one of them. Let's do it like that, and before we will set this one, we will call update to do, put their ID of it, and set completed true. So two of them will remain uncompleted, therefore active. And for this case, we will do something similar. First, let's just implement or add our data there. We are looking for one to be completed. So it means completed will be true for one, and I think it should work already. So let's run our tests. Doesn't work. When a filter is completed, let's save it. So we have created 3 items. Defaultly, all of them are not completed, and we have set this one to be completed. It should work, and it works. It wasn't just saved, it just wasn't saved. So now we can move on and continue. We also should be able to return just one of the item. So we will create also this endpoint to just return one value, and we will quickly create also service for it. We will just create find by ID like that. Also, we should be able to return not found exception here like that. And last endpoint for us, now let's fix it right here. Find by ID. Last obviously will be delete ID. Will be quite simple. We will import delete, and we will create delete method here. And we will just update to-do service, to-do's array by filtering all those, the one that is the ID out. Right, yeah, and what we can do now is to update our unit tests. Let's do it right now. So let's now quickly implement the last 2 tests. We want to be able to test if we can find by ID method. So let's do it. So basically what we will do, we will again call create to do method. So we will create one item. We will save that item. We will need it later. Then we will call find by ID and use that ID from this to do const. And last thing, we will expect the result to be equal the one we saved. And last test will be about deleting. Again, we will create one to do and delete it, call delete method, and then when we call find by ID, we expect this exception to be thrown. So if we run tests, it should pass, and it does. So we can continue. Because we believe in unit tests, we will also write them for our controller. And we will not use to-do service directly. We will not use real to-do service, but we will mock it by using Jest and mocked type like that. And we need to be able to also define our providers for it. So what we are seeing now is configuration for testing module that anytime our code asks for to-do service, instead, and some method from it, instead use these functions. These functions will be later changed or updated, used to return certain values. I will show you. But now first let's make instance of our service, and now we can use it and write first test where we will list all our to-dos, and of course we need to first define the mock object, which will be const to-dos and will contain just one row. And now the magic comes in. We will be able, we are saying here, anytime to-dos find all is called, return this values to-dos. So now we are ready and we can use our method get all to-dos, because when it is called, it will call find all. You can go and see it calls find all, but instead of calling the real service, it will call this mock service and return this to-dos. And now we can expect a result to equal to-dos. And we can expect that find all has been called with parameter all. And we can now close our test and run it. See what will happen. Okay, we see error here. Oh yes, of course we are returning a bit different object, so we need to okay, result to-dos will be equal to-dos, like that. Now you see our tests are okay, and we can continue. Now we can run pretty fast because we have AI. So very similarly, we will do it for one to-do. Of course, we need to, this will be okay because we are returning just one. Let's run it. If it works, what it does is it creates a new variable where we define our return object. Now we again mock find by ID, it will return to do. Now we call it with ID and expect it to return. Now we can do for creating to do. Will be also easy. We will create const, create to do will return this variable, this data, and we will expect it to have it and see if it works, and it works. And you see how AI is useful. This is how you should be writing your unit tests right now. You can now do the same for update and the same for delete. And let's run if there is no error, and there is no error. We can now go back to controller, and now we can basically test our new application we made, because this is basically what we wanted to do. We have created a controller where we have our endpoints. We have two get points, one post, one put, one delete. We are getting data, creating new data, updating them, deleting them. We are using to-do service. It is all included here in module, and module is imported in app module, I think, right? So I think it should be working now, and we should be able to test it. And for that I have here prepared Postman. I will not show you how to set your Postman. It's quite easy, but if you want to see how to do it, you can write me in comment section and I will show you how you can set your Postman in some next tutorial. So what we will do first, we will create new data. So our server is running, we have here prepared create a method. So we are calling localhost 3000 on to-dos, and in body we insert a title. So send it. As you can see, we have created our data and we can copy this ID, and first we can show that it lists all IDs, it does, and we can get one ID back. For example, this is another method. Let's make sure that I have like that, and it should return, and it does. We should be able to update it too. And we will just update it, and it does, and we can see, because when we are on the list, the title is updated now, and we can now delete it too. See, when we call list now, it will return empty. Okay, last thing, we almost forgot. Let's try few of our validators. Let's try, for example, send number instead of string, what it will do. Well, as you can see, we have some problem somewhere. Let's look into our application. Oh, of course, we need to also implement here globally the validation pipe, or these decorators will not work. So when we go on the official website, we need to use global definition for validation pipe. And of course, let's go and see. And also we have installed class validator. We also need to install class transformer. So let's just fix our application quickly. Let's install it. And now we can implement the validation pipe into our bootstrap of our application, like that. Let's import it. Save it for sure. Let's restart our server. Let's call it again. And there you see we have message title must be longer than or equal to 1 characters, and it must be a string. So it works now. It shows status code 400, which is bad request, which is exactly correct. Of course we can edit it, but for now it's okay. So just to remember, when you use class validator, use also class transformer library, and you need to set it also in main.ts file. And now we can think about what we can do next. For example, we can correctly save something here now. We have data there. But now let's try use bad ID. As you can see, it returns 404, which we expected. It's our logic that has been implemented here, not found exception. And we can also try the same thing in update. It should return the same thing, yes, because we should use the correct ID here. I think I have it. No. I need to take the correct ID and it will work. Right. So we saw that our not found exception works, and we saw that our validation decorator works too. So we might also try to do it here. It should return also error. Yes. So that's about it. As you can see, we have added values. We got all values, updated, deleted, and tried to hack it, and our validation works. And that's basically about it for this video. And I hope you have enjoyed this video. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. And until next time, have an amazing day. And see you soon.